Good morning, everyone. I'm recording this a little bit before the market open here. Um, Obviously, Greg here from Master Trader. It's about a little after 2 o'clock where I am at. I'm in Burgas, Bulgaria, visiting with family. It was my uh, father-in-law's birthday, 80 years old, so obviously my wife wanted to come see him. So we took a little trip out here, and we'll be back next week. I thought we'd take a look at the markets here before the open, since yesterday was one of those down days that happen recently in the markets here. Now and then, we've had a few, and some of them a little bit more convincing. Had this downside shakeout here, and then prices came back up, and obviously that's what makes the shakeout. And then this run, which is a little extended from the 20 there. And then yesterday's down day. Now, when I was speaking to Dan, actually we were on Skype. Every day in the morning we get together, look for plays, for gaps, and different setups that we can share with you all. And as we promised about, starting this monthly service, we're going to start doing more videos, more prime videos and such to share uh, more market ideas and explanations as to the different plays that we do. So let's start and look at what's happening in the market here. And one of the things I said to Dan yesterday is, Dan, this looks like it's going to be a day where the market is going to, roll over here for the day. And what I was looking at the time was the fact that we had this drop down, from this uptrend and broke down through, and it cleared this resistance, and that's initially a powerful move. Now it's just a 5-minute chart, but it's a start. The selling starts in a lower time frame, and then you look at your reference points as to where prices might stop. And because of the gap up that had occurred previously, you got this open void, very little support areas here, and that increases the probability that prices can push down through those support areas. And as they came down, they had little stalls, and then in the middle of the day, typically the doldrums, sideways, 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 and then a little upside shakeout, and then ended the day lower. So we'll see where today goes. So with the daily, going back to the daily chart, we do have the open gap. Now, if this market is really super bullish, that gap's not going to get filled, but we'll see. Those are one of the telling signs as to, is the demand, that buying power, beginning to wane. And by that, you do get a gap fill, you get a push into the support. We see if this support area here will hold and then push back up again. If we were to get a update tomorrow, and we had in this case, a white day, but I think it's something that Dan coined many years ago as a bear sandwich, meaning you had two bullish bars, assuming a white candle here, up, with the red bar in between being the bear, and that pattern pointing toward higher prices even yet. And it would, and even though there's that unfilled gap. So we'll see. Let's take a look at the other markets. That's the S&Ps, Nasdaq 100, pretty similar. Got the support, the unfilled gap. Basically the same pattern. Really not much different there. Let's look at the transports. Down day. They've gotten kind of erratic and sloppy, especially in light of the airlines beginning to show some relative weakness, which they've been a little crazy of late. See, we've got a breakout failure. We do have that options trade on UAL, which is kind of made us day to day, should we kill this thing or not, especially day before yesterday, where it pushed up but then ended the day with a topping tail. That was exactly what we wanted to see, because that was a large bullish candle at the time. It looked like it was going to push through the highs, and it came back in. So to me, this looks like guaranteed money on that trade. As much as I can use the word guaranteed, of course, but the way this looks, the odds of it getting back up here seem slim to none to me. Back to the transportation index. It's sloppy, little bit of a breakout failure. Trend is still up. We can move our major support reference point up to there, and we'll see if that breaks or not, or whether goes sideways to push higher. The transports have been wild. Not the transports, the utilities, and they moved up. The next day back down. Then back up again yesterday. A little extended, but we had a nice trade as they started to break out from here. And maybe they can get back up to that 720 area yet, but they're a little extended, so a little choppy sideways action isn't any surprise here. Some of the S&P sectors, one that caught my eye on the bottom of the list there is metals and mining. And what I like about this, the uptrend and then down, and it's just got pretty good odds of continuing lower. And then I was looking through stocks within the sector to find what might be of interest. And what I'm finding is a lot of things that are kind of already moved. So it's just like, I look at these and I go, well, how do I get on board this? And I'm not finding anything easy. Possibly this one today, which I'll talk to Dan about on a call. Credit spread, possibly, since the sector is getting weak. And it hasn't been able to get through this area for a while, but we'll see how that shapes up. It's a strong one. Timken Steel. Mark that one off for later. Maybe X is getting ready to give it up here for a while, but still too early to tell. Getting a little wild and whippy. The retail sector. Oh, what a mess that is. But the A&F gapped up big. Yan and I spoke about this. I'm not sure if he posted a play on this. I know he posted it in the Facebook group. If you've signed up for the advisory service, make sure you contact us to get into the closed Facebook group. That is our fastest way to update you as to new plays and changes to plays. And I know Dan posted that in there. This one came up and it just didn't have the options. I think they were too spready, or they just didn't set up for a trade for us. This is interesting. This was on our list the day before yesterday and had this big turnaround yesterday. So I'm going to see if it hangs up here and begins to roll over. If it can get through here, that'll be bullish. But if it starts to roll back over again, we'll look for another setup. So a lot of these retailers look like maybe the money is starting to creep into them slowly. Some sloppy basing here. Nothing that jumps out at me and says, hey, this is it. A lot of messy charts here. Nothing of interest here. What else on the list? Utilities were up at the top there. Consumers, a beautiful uptrend. Walmart broke it. It broke this downtrend, but it's real sloppy, so not interested in that. Not interested in that. Maybe starting to develop into a bottom. The sector's been doing really well. I think this is gapping down today. I think Dan had sent me a message late in the evening. It was late here anyway, guys. Something I mentioned, MYL. MLY. Why isn't that not coming up? Yep, gapped up on earnings. I like to give these a few days. It had a bullish move upward, broke the resistance. It has bottomed, It consolidated. Here's the concept. Those of you that are my students from the old TPM2 and the ATS class, here is the concept of creating support. So the meaning of that is, for those of you that aren't aware, is what was resistance becomes support. That, of course, And now here's the minor support area where prices, might pull back to, but on a really strong move, support is created when demand is that strong. It doesn't pull back to support, it creates support. The demand comes in and buys on these little minor dips, which is bullish. And then what I had posted in the room, I don't have the 200 on here, but if it was to come down into the 20 where we would want to buy it, or if it broke out above the highs, and then on the earnings it gapped up, and now what we want to see is it not fill the gap in a few days and then get a continuation pattern where I believe we should be able to ride it up to the old high. With that being said, we're getting a little long here on this video, so I'm going to end it. We're going to be having more of these covering sectors and the broader markets, and Dan will explain more of the option plays that are being called, and a lot of education. And we'll be having our first get-together, live chat get-together, where Dan and I will go over all the recent plays and explain them and what's happening in the markets. We'll be doing a lot of education, and we'll be starting to do some seminars again, and we have a lot of great stuff coming to share with you. So have a great trading day, and we will talk next week.